guys. So welcome back to the Crazy Juicy Love podcast. And I am so happy to have this man, Rich Keller, of his company Score. And I just can't wait to have this conversation with you. So Rich, thank you for having me. And tell us about Score, what it is, what it's about, what do you do, and why you do it.
Jimmy, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that we met serendipitously.
I know.
Shout out to Nando, the magnetic guy. So I wear a lot of hats. I say to everyone that I'm in the personal branding space after having spent 25 years in corporate brand marketing. So I did a little pivot. Instead of marketing and creating identities for iconic brands, I now help people create their own identity. And my platform is called SCORE, and it's an acronym for Stand Out, Conquer Obstacles, Reach Excellence. And I speak around the country as a motivational speaker in high schools and colleges and conferences with entrepreneurs, companies that have young adults. And along with my speaking engagement, I also do private coaching and I also do consulting. And I created this idea, how do I start this? About in my marketing career, when I worked on brands such as I worked at Kraft Foods, I worked at Nabisco, I worked at Godiva chocolate, spent almost 7 years at Godiva eating a lot of chocolate. And I would, in order to break through the clutter, because there's a lot of information that hits people, in order to break through the clutter, I would craft all these brands that I worked on, their identity in one word. And the one word would be the value that the brand delivered to the consumer's life. So a lot of people, if I said to you, Jimmy, what's the first word that comes to mind when you say Starbucks? What would you say, first word that comes to mind when you hear Starbucks?
Well, for my conversation, I think of community.
Okay, but that's the answer. But
right, the answer.
What do most people say when they hear the word Starbucks? Right away, first word.
I think of like modern.
But what do they sell?
Coffee.
Right. So most people, because you're engaged in what I do, most people will tell you coffee.
Right.
Okay? And that's the product that they sell. And that is not the business that they're in. And the business that a brand is in is the value that the brand brings to your life, because every brand that solves a problem wins. If you have a brand out there and you're not solving a problem, chances are you're going to get lost in the fray. So about 2 or 3 years ago, my son was applying to college, and I asked him very simply to tell me about yourself. And he had no idea where to begin. He had no idea what to say. He went right to what everybody does, which is they tell you what they do for a living. He's like, I'm a high school student. I'm a junior in high school, but nobody truly starts that answer with who they are. And so I decided to do the same process that I did with all the brands that I worked on him. And he discovered his one word. And his word is perseverance. And then he wrote an outstanding college personal statement that demonstrated a story of how he brings this perseverance value to life. And he is a sophomore now at Cornell. Wow. And so I had this idea I thought to myself, why am I not helping, because that's really what it's all about, helping young adults around the world discover their value so they can score being stand out, conquer obstacles, reach excellence. And you can notice I have my shirt on because I'm a catalyst.
Yes.
And I decided to walk away I quit my job. I decided to give up title, salary, security, because I want to transform 1 million lives around the country because it's so important. And you know this because you went through the process. It's so important. Don't we all want to be valued? Mm-hmm. Don't we all want to know exactly what are at our core, what we're great at? I mean, if there's only, people can only remember like one thing, and they barely could remember one thing about something. And if you're known for one thing, like brands are, you're gonna hit a home run, and along the way, you're gonna gain the confidence. And I know we did it together. You're gonna gain that confidence about and feel valued, because that's all we want in the end. Is people want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be valued.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't know how to value yourself, how are you going to let others or expect others to value you? So I had this idea after working with my son that I wanted to travel the country, and I wanted to help people like yourself discover your value. And it's one word. That's it. And then after you figure out that value, you build your identity around it. And that's what you become known for. Just like we talked about Starbucks, their value is community. They're not in the coffee business. They're in the community business, and they use coffee, the product, to drive community. And so that's the same similar idea for people. You know, don't tell me, when somebody says to you, tell me about yourself in an interview, the first thing people do is they'll tell you what they do. And if you really want to stand out, conquer obstacles, reach excellence, you got to tell them who you are. And you got to tell them the value that you're going to bring to the job that they're interviewing you for. That is when the game changes, because everybody is doing something, but not everybody has the same value. And so if you can communicate that value to the person you're talking to, the situation you're in, you're all of a sudden going to rise to the top, because that's a unique way to talk about yourself, but you're telling them what I as a brand will do for you.
Right. I really love what you're saying. I want to go back a little bit to the moment you left your corporation, job. Like, take me back to that moment. Because a lot of people I know have that moment, and especially people who want to be a coach or want to be any kind of entrepreneur, have that fear of leaving. So what was the moment that you said, I'm done, I'm handing in my notice, and I'm walking away from that? Like, what? Tell me that moment.
Let me start by saying that I do not want anybody to think, listening to this, that this was an easy thing. Like, I got up and I went, woo, now, So I'm going to take you back just a little bit, because I do think that a lot of what we experience as people is based on our past. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a 26-year cancer survivor. My wife is a 8-year cancer survivor. Wow. And when my wife got sick in 2011, she had advanced breast cancer. That was the beginning of some real introspection for me. I wanted more time with my kids. I have 2 children. I wanted more time with them. And I also really felt like after both of us were sick, that life is really short. Like you say, like people say, oh, life is short, but I really felt it. And there was a moment, right after she got sick, that I really thought to myself, am I walking the talk? Like, I'm talking a big game, but am I really walking it? And I had an incredible career. I was on the executive team of the companies that I worked at, and I was traveling, I was working long hours, and I just truly in my heart felt like I wasn't, I felt like I wasn't making enough of an impact in the world. I wasn't making enough of an impact. And one day through the years from 2011 up until today, I'd also gone into therapy because I felt like I needed somebody to really help me unravel this story. And one of the things that was asked of me, which I think is something I do a lot now with the people I work with, I think it was my therapist said, what do you want your legacy to be? And I really thought about that, because let me tell you, having seen a lot of friends that have not survived cancer, my wife and I being very lucky, I remember being, at their eulogies and that's when it really hits the world of people are going to talk about you, and they're going to say whatever you've done and whatever you have contributed. And I really thought about that. And I said to myself, as much as I love my career, I want to help people win. I want to impact lives. I want people to get up when I'm done and say, he really changed the direction of my life. He really gave me some introspection about who I am. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that I really wanted people to get up there and not talk about Godiva. I didn't want them to talk about OREO. I didn't want them to talk about what I had done. So a couple of my therapists, a couple of my mentors said, then walk the talk and get over it. And I think I had just told you a couple of minutes ago, I had been working with my son, and I realized, wow, I just made such an impact on this kid who is really, he's a great kid, but he doesn't know how to communicate about himself. So I was at work one day. I had gotten my review, and it was completely not what I expected. Not at all. I thought I was going in for a really good review, and it wasn't.
What did they say?
There was just a lot of challenges that we were having in the company, and a lot of what I had all this authority but no control, and a lot of the things that were happening were out of my control. And I'll tell you exactly what went through my head. See this name? What's this name on my shirt, Jim?
Catalyst.
You got it. And so I sat there, and all of a sudden, as this person's giving me my info, I thought to myself, I am babysitting. I am literally babysitting this brand and this job. And right at that moment, I said to myself, and I'm sure a lot of people have been in this situation that are listening, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I closed the door. And this is the advice I would give to everyone. I closed the door, and I was as authentic as I can be. And I said to this person, you're paying me way too much money for me to not be able to do my job. I can't be a catalyst. And I said, it's time for me to go. And I made a deal, and I helped finish up. I hired somebody else. I left on amazing terms. And I had no idea what I was going to do, Jim. No idea. I remember calling my wife that afternoon, and I said, I quit my job. and she said, excuse me? And I said, I quit my job. And I'll be really honest, her answer was, congratulations. You should have done that 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
She knew.
100%. And we had been talking about, planning for the future. And we had talked about, I'm not going to be in corporate America forever. And I have to tell you, I never felt more amazing. I felt like I was a bird that can fly to Africa because all of a sudden, all that tension was lifted. I didn't know what I was going to do. We'll talk about how I journeyed into where I'm going right now, but I had no idea what I was going to do. But what I did know is, you know what? Now is the time, and I say this to everyone today, now is the time. You drive the car, and it's time for you to live the way you want people to remember you. It's really simple.
You just reminded me of my own journey a little bit. And, last year, when I got accepted into the coaching program, and I got a little scholarship, but I had to pay I think it was like $6,000. And I had no idea. I was just like, was on the phone with the the general manager of the company, and I was just like, what am I going to do? Well, this is your moment. I didn't have the money, and I was just like, well, if you don't do this, where are you going to be next year? That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was just like, I do not want to be in the fucking same place
Right.
like next year. And I was just like, here's my credit card. And I just went on a journey. I was in, the introduction leadership program and the coaching program, coaching 8 people, working 2 jobs. And I was just like, I don't know. I tell people that, and I didn't even realize that I was doing that. I was just like in like action mode, just doing.
That's right.
Because I knew when I remember reading the description of what the coaching program was offering, I connected so much, and I was like, this is what I was meant to do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get me over to whatever to make this happen. And then after I met you, and that my one word is barrier breaker. I really had a hard time. I guess I did have a hard time when it's like, owning it, because it was just like, what does that mean? I'm a barrier breaker, and I, after we got off the phone, I was like, okay, well, I just need to take this on and see what this is. How am I a barrier breaker as a coach? And I remember, I think it was maybe a week after we talked, a friend of mine called me. He was like, hey, I would love you to coach me. And I said, okay. He was going through a breakup. And so we're on the phone, and I said, well, tell me, about the relationship. Then I was going through his history with his mother and his sister, and I said, stop. And I pointed out his pattern, and I was like, this is what you're doing, and you're lying to yourself. And the phone went silent. And I was just like, hello? He was crying, and I had hit something that I didn't even realize I did. And I was in my mind, I was like, oh, this is just what Rich is talking about, that I'm a barrier breaker. And I was like, okay, maybe this is it. And so then recently, again, on the phone with this girl, talking with her, it's been whole back and forth thing with her. Does she want to coach me? Does she like, okay, let's, have this session with her, this introductory session. Did the same thing with her, went through her relationships, went through her patterns. And then I said to her, when you value yourself, then everybody else will start valuing you. And then she was like, what did you say?
That's right.
And I listed all out, and she's broke down crying on the phone. And she's like, where do I sign up? Yeah. And I was just like, oh, I need to like really step into this, because I'm learning that as a coach, I have to be the one that's, even with strangers, say the thing that I have to break that barrier down with them, because it's like right there. Like I can see it, I can hear it.
Right.
And it's something that the one word process that you allow me to like be a part of, it's like, oh, this is what I'm stepping into. This is where I'm coming from. I don't have to apologize for it. Right. And I can really own it now.
Well, there's two things. I think number one, I also had to break you down.
You did.
You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. And I think part of the reason is, and this is just my observation with people that I work with, a lot of it is fear. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is fear. One of the things that I think is really important for your listeners to understand is, when we got to your one word, barrier breaker, I allow hyphens in my one word, by the way, just so you know. But when we got to your one word, it all came out of your workbook. Like this is not something that you didn't have. You've had this all along. So in the workbook process together, we just discovered what you wrote down, and we put it together in a way that allowed you to be who you are. So the first thing is, it's fear, because you got to own it now.
Right.
Like you have to go out in the world and serve your gift of being a barrier breaker. And if you don't want to do that, let's say I don't know how to do it, or I'm afraid, I'm scared, or whatever, then it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's no longer like I'm very much the person that gives it to you straight because you know what your value is. And so I remember with you hanging up and I'm like, he's not fully there yet. And I got it. And I got it. And I got it. And then when you texted me a week later and you were like, wow, okay, it's there. I knew that was going to happen because you have to ease into it. You have to believe it. You have to ease into it. And then once you have situations like you just described, the rest is history. It's just seamless. It's just seamless. Now, I will tell you, I had a very similar sort of situation where I didn't know I was a catalyst until I didn't realize in my brain that I was a catalyst until I was like 47 years old. Okay. And the reason for that was because I had lost my job at Godiva and I did not know where I was going next. I was not ready to do what I'm doing now. I had another job in between the job I quit. And I remember sitting in a recruiter's office. I had been, interviewing, and this recruiter said two things to me that would change the course of my life, okay? The first thing she told me was that she literally looked at me and said, you are irrelevant because you have zero digital marketing experience on your resume. I had zero digital marketing. I had been in innovation most of my career. I also, Facebook, Instagram, they were all coming out and starting, but I had no idea what any of that was. And I looked at her and I remember saying, but I have an MBA from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. And she said to me, that's yesterday's news, you're done. Okay, literally
Wow.
said to me. And I looked at her and I said, okay. And then she said, I want to tell you something else as well. And I said, oh boy, here we go. And she said to me, she goes, you're not the right person for this job anyway, that I'm looking for. And I looked at her and I said, that makes no sense to me because I meet every qualification. And she said, absolutely you do, except for one thing. And then I gave her this look and she said to me, you're a catalyst and they're looking for a babysitter. They don't want a disruptor in this job. And all of a sudden, Jimmy, I went, oh my God. Like I've been building brands my entire career on one word. And this woman summed me up based on all of my experiences. And it was that moment that I literally looked at her and I said, you just defined my personal brand. And that was it. And that was before my son's episode about college. Like I had no idea that I would be going off and doing what I'm doing now. But at that moment, I remember saying to myself that my personal brand is born. And she was right. Like, even though I did meet every qualification, it was a babysitting job and my value would not have been valued. See, that's the other thing. When you take on a job, take on a project, take on a relationship, if your value is not worthy, you will fail.
Right.
You will fail because you'll be unhappy. If I give you every coaching client, if I send everybody your way that doesn't have to break a barrier, you would be bored. You're not the right coach. And so if you're going to ask me, like if Coca-Cola calls me tomorrow and wants me to manage their brand, the answer is no. Nobody's going to disrupt Coke. It's a household brand for 100 years. I want to be on brands that are small and up and coming and startups because I disrupt. So that woman, in hindsight, that woman saved my life. And that woman gave it to me in a way where, boy, if she had not said that to me, I don't even know if we would be on the phone right now.
Right. You'd be choosing another job.
Yeah. So a lot of it is fear. A lot of it is, and you had talked to me, you had asked me a question before about, how I got started and when was the moment. The other thing that really held me back for years was fear of money. Fear of money. I have 2 children.
Yeah.
I have bills, and I remember being paralyzed by that. And one of the things that my therapist had said to me, which I want to share because I think a lot of your listeners should feel good about it. She said, I want you to do something for me. I said, sure. She goes, I want you to call your financial planner and I want you to sit down with your planner and I want you to map out the next 20 years. And I want him to tell you that you are okay to take on this new venture, what I'm doing now. And I thought to myself, great, he's going to tell me no. Because the other thing is, not only is it money, okay, but it's also that sometimes you want people to tell you not to do it so that you'll feel good about you. You'll feel good. And so I was like, this is it. He's going to tell me no. Done. I have to go back and get a job. Had him over. We worked out a 2-week plan, and he came back and he said, you're going to be fine. You can take this risk. And I went, what? I was so upset. I was scared. And I remember when he left the house, my wife said to me, are you done now? Okay, it's time.
I love your wife.
Yeah. Well, when you have a good support system that gives it to you straight, and honestly, it was the fear. I wanted people to say no. And part of it was I was afraid. Like, I don't want to fail. Who wants to fail?
Right.
But that's the irony. You have to fail in order to win. You have to fall in order to get up. And guess what? It's been a year, almost a little over a year that I've been embarking on this journey. We're not living in the street. We still have heat. My kids eat. Like you change the way you play. And we've been, adjusting that. So much of it comes down to the one theme that's important. It's about you. It starts with the person that you're coaching. It starts with the person you're talking to. And that was something I had to work into. I had to get comfortable with that. I had to meet my new self.
Right. So talk to me about some of the mistakes that you see people making. I know, because you're starting to make a presence online. Because me also as a coach, when I was in my program, my mentor coach, she was like, you need to be a business coach as well. She's like, you're really good, because I coached her around her business, and now she's like doing all these things. So like, I'm on this not only relationship coach, but learning how to create a program around business. But as I'm learning more about business, I look online, look at my friends, and I see all these mistakes that they're making, and they could be so much further. And I'm like, talk to me, like, especially like someone like Nando. Talking about Nando again, shout out to Nando, Nandoism. Magnetic. Talk to me about some of the mistakes that you see over and over again, that if they had this one word that will literally shift their whole branding, how they approach everything.
Yeah, so I have a lot to say on this one. This is a good one. No, this is a really good one, because one of the things that's really been helping me is that I come from everything I do from a branding perspective. So that's because everything in the end is a brand. Okay, people are brands. I'm holding up my phone. This has made everybody a brand. Okay, because what is the first thing you do when you don't know someone that you're meeting? You Google them. Right? So you're a brand. Okay, so I'll say a couple of things. I think the biggest mistake that everybody makes, this one's a big one. The biggest mistake everybody makes is every story that you tell has a hero and a guide and a villain. Okay, that's why, like, Wonder Woman, Harry Potter, Superman, Batman. Okay, the first mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs, coaches make is the brand is never the hero in the story. Okay, your consumer, your customer, they are the hero. You are the guide. And our whole goal in life is to serve others. And when you are a brand, your job is to serve others with your value. You are the guide. So when you and I work together, okay, I was the guide, you were the hero, because when you discovered your one word, you're the one that won, because you now know who you are. And all I did was serve my value and my program into your life. So the first mistake that a lot of people make is they make it about them. Right. People buy human connection. That part everybody gets right. But the part they don't get right is when I go to your Instagram, when I go to your website, it's not about you. It's not I, me. It's here's how I serve you. Here's how I can make you the star, okay, and the winner. So everybody has to understand that a brand is always the guide. The person that you are serving is the hero. And that little flip can make a huge difference. That's number one. The second thing is to build on that. I have a very, I don't know if it's a famous saying yet, because I'm not famous.
Yes.
But I have a very clear quote that I tell people all the time. And that is very simply, engage first, sell second, and you will sell a hell of a lot more. Okay? Engage first, sell second, and you will sell a hell of a lot more. And what I mean by that is people buy human connection. So if you start with your value and forget about the money is going to flow. If you are going into this to make money only, you will lose the game, because there's no gratitude. And I know that people will say to me, I get that, but I cannot tell you how many people they will execute with the money first, value second. Okay? So if you engage with your goal, number one goal is to serve others. That's it. That is what we are all put on this earth for. Even brands that you buy. If you buy a toothpaste, it is serving you to clean your teeth. Okay? So when we become a personal brand, we can't say, oh, I'm a personal brand, but I don't like serving others because it sounds like I'm being subservient. No, that is our goal. Our goal is to make other people the hero.
Right.
And so I find that when you realize that you're the guide, when you start with value first, money second, then the third thing is, and this is one where I think that you and I are still going to talk about this after, we're done with the podcast. You have to be known for one thing. That's it. One thing. Consumers cannot remember. They have 18 million messages hitting them a day, and I just made up that number. You have to stand for one thing, okay? And I find a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches, they'll say to me, but that just seems so little. And I go, that's the point. Keep it super simple. Like if you're a barrier breaking love coach, that's it. You could do other things on the side. I'm not suggesting other people shouldn't have side hustles. But if you're asking me to remember you for 3 or 4 things, forget it. I don't have the brain power to be able to do that because I have 10,000 other things hitting me. And so a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches and just brands in general, they don't keep it super simple, where Starbucks, their product is coffee, they're known for community. Godiva, their product is chocolate, their value is generosity. Same thing with me, I'm a catalyst. I disrupt the conversation. If you hire me, okay, I'm gonna help you discover your value in one word, but I'm gonna disrupt the conversation because that's my value. Otherwise, go get a coach that won't disrupt you and tell you yes to everything.
Right.
I'm not your person. So I'd say those are the 3 things that are really important. You're the guide, value first, and I lost my train of thought. Known for one thing.
Yeah.
Known for one thing. If you come to my site, you're going to see my score platform, and all it takes is one word to score. That's it. That's what I'm known for, or what I'm going to as I evolve and build my personal brand. When I speak, when I coach, when I consult, it's all around getting you to that value. And doesn't mean down the road I can't do 8 other things and build my business, but you cannot launch a coaching program or an entrepreneurial brand and expect that you're going to be known for 3 or 4 things and the consumer's going to be like, got it. They have this much time, this much in their head.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying too. Like, one of my thing is men.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about that. We talked
about that. And I did have a hard time. Like, well, I'm a coach. I can coach anyone. And you're like, no. Like, doesn't mean you're not going to coach those people. You're more effective with, not more effective, but your, I guess, passion is men. And, I can see now, like, oh, okay, some things that I'm posting on Instagram is very general. I'm not really hitting the men. And it's like a learning process for me.
That's right. That's right.
And figuring that out, and and it's a process, and I'm building and I'm learning, and I'm like, and it's happening, but I still have a lot to grow and a place to come from and look at and see how I'm going to, be powerful and effective in that moment.
But I would also say that the way to look at it is, where could I put my value such that I'm going to make the most impact?
Right.
So to your point, you can coach anyone, absolutely. But that's like saying that Starbucks could be for 80-year-old women. But they're not going to come in every day.
Right.
Who's driving the most traffic in your store? Who is going to get the most out of my barrier breaking value? And listen, when you and I worked together, there was a hesitation. You mean I'm only going to talk to gay men? That's it? And I'm like, yes, because when you do that, and they know that's what you stand for, they're going to call 27 other friends, and all of a sudden you're going to just get better and better and better at your value. If you have 10,000 other people that are in all different genres and relationship issues, you become watered down. You're everything to everyone.
Right.
So it is hard. It's not easy for somebody to say, so you want me to be known for one thing and do that one thing really well? And my answer is absolutely, because you're going to get better at it. You're going to be known for it. And ultimately, that's where your love is, because that's your core value.
Right. You make me think of Bradley Cooper, because he's directing, writing, and doing all these things now, and it's like, oh, this is probably what Rich is talking about, because he although he can do those other things, he started off as an actor, and as his brand of an actor has got more known, he got nominated and all these things, then I'm sure he was directing, doing all those things on the side. But like now he's like directing, singing, creating music, and doing all those things. Like, it doesn't diminish his main value, but it all funnels back to him as an actor.
That's right. And that's a really good point, because in the future, if you want to go do something that branches out, if it ladders up to being a barrier breaker, then great. Then we're in. Like, if you want to go consult, I'm making this up, but if you wanted to go into companies and help people break their barriers of teamwork and tension, within the team world, that would be great. But if you say to me, I'm going to go now and be a landscaper, I'd be like, that's ridiculous. That makes no sense. And ultimately, at the end of the day, not only do you become better at what you do, but people are they're gonna say that is the barrier breaking coach. Listen, everybody's a coach. Like, we're if you have 25 coaches in a room, we're all coaches, great. But if you go individually to each one, when they get to you, that's the guy that breaks barriers. Right. Okay, and ultimately, that's how you, as a coach, just like as a cookie, as a drink, that's how you stand out on the store shelf. And it's the same concept that I did for 25 years in marketing corporate brands, that I just now bring over and pivot to people and help people understand that in the world of social and digital and the millions of things out there, what do you want to be known for?
Right. I want to talk about this one thing, because when I remember in the coaching group, when we talked about Oprah, and Oprah word is giving, you were suggesting. When you said her name and you said giving, I was like, it really clicked. And the point I'm making is like, I remember her saying that if it doesn't align with what I'm out to do and create in the world, I will not do it.
That's right.
Oh my God, this is what the one word thing will give you, because it will stop you from working with people who don't align with you, taking on jobs or even TV shows, radio shows, or whatever that does not align with what you're out to do in the world. So can you talk to me about how your one word will save you from making the wrong deal or working with the wrong people?
Right. And think about Oprah for a second, because she's a really good example of embodying the one word. And by the way, that's my version of her one word giver.
Right.
I don't know her. I'd like to, but I don't know her.
Right.
But think about it. Oprah's book club, her goal was to serve others and bring the books that were amazing to other people right there. Her magazine, okay? Her magazine is all about giving the information that people that read her magazine need to live a great life. Super Soul Sunday, her talk show, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Her girls' schools in Africa, it's embodied. And that was what you and I talked about a couple minutes ago. She could do 10,000 things as long as it ladders up to giver. And I can guarantee you that when she does something new, people are like, oh, she must be giving something away. She must be
right.
okay, because that and that's always been who she was. She, you know, when she was on stage years ago sharing her weight loss story, she was not the hero. She was, even though she said, look how great I look, you know, she was guiding people on how she did it. It always comes back. You give to others, you get 10 million more in return, and people don't get that. The ones that get it land in the extraordinary circle, and they live a life of gratitude. And the more you give, the more you live. That's it.
Yeah.
And look at her; she's a good example.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love what you just said. The more you give, the more you live.
That's it.
So, do you yourself have a coach?
Okay, so that's also a very that's also a great question. So about a year and a half ago, a little, you know, year and 2 months ago, that is one of my biggest regrets in my career, that I have mentors. I have very good mentors. I have amazing mentors, but I never really had a coach that would give it to me straight. And part of it was fear. I didn't want to hear what I didn't want to hear. and like I said, I told you I'd gone into therapy like 3 or 4 years ago. And so I would argue that number one, a therapist is my coach. That's number one. But number two, I remember when I quit my job, I literally was on Instagram and I was flipping through their stories and I saw this ad for this coach. And I thought she looked like somebody I can really relate to and connect with. And I literally swiped up. I had a free 1-hour call with her. And 60 minutes later, I spent $1,200 on the spot.
Wow.
To do 4 sessions with her. And I will tell you, she was life-changing for me. Why? Because her name is Elizabeth Walker, and she's amazing. And she gave me a Mad Lib exercise. Okay.
What is that?
You know what Mad Libs are? It's a story where you fill in the blank. You know, so it's a story, and you fill in the blank. Give me a noun, give me an adjective, give me a verb, and then you read the story. They're pretty popular, but it was a story about my life, or at least she was trying to get me to unravel my entire story. And so I literally took that Mad Lib and I brought it to my therapist, and together we filled in all the information, and then I spent 4 sessions with her, and this woman connected every single dot in my life. And she helped me understand that I grew up invisible. She helped me understand that my whole world is about connecting with others, and that I love to give because I grew up in a home where I didn't feel valued, and I felt like the more I put myself out there, the more I give to others, I'm going to get more in return. And she really helped me formulate my story for my talks, for my business. And so I'm still with her today. I have a bigger team because I'm launching a website very shortly. So I have a bigger creative team and a coaching team that she's a part of. But the point I want to make to everyone on the call is 100% you need a coach. I didn't do it. People didn't call me on my shit because I didn't want to hear it. Okay. And it's hard. Everyone listening on this call, it's scary, but you know what?
But why is it so scary? Because it's so valuable, and
people don't want to hear. They don't want to hear what they don't want to hear.
Right.
It really, it comes down to that. And good.
No, one thing I find that people don't want to, as far as relationship goes, they don't want to look at the pain that they've caused others, pain caused themselves, and what they contribute to the downfall of their career or anything like that. And it's people struggle with that. And but I find, and me too, sometimes when somebody calls me out, even in our call,
Right.
like I was squirming in the chair, like struggling with like accepting this part of me.
That's right.
That
do you remember the word in your sentence that you sort of gave me a look on? Do you remember the phrase? Remember the phrase that your mom wrote?
gift-for-gab.
You got it.
Gift of gab.
Gift-for-gab. And you and I, you were like, and this is what I said. And this is what I said. Own it. Own it. Like gift-for-gab it's not negative if you make it negative.
Right.
Okay. And you have a gift for gab. And I said to you, I remember saying this, well, turn it around and make it an asset. I mean, you're going to be a coach that doesn't have a gift for gab, then why are you coaching? You know
right.
what I mean? And listen, a good coach is going to bring wisdom to the game. And people have blind spots. They don't see what other people see. And the reason why people resist coaches, it's a fear game. It's like, I don't want to be judged. But here's the thing. We have to be judged in order to win. We have to be told what people are seeing in us because we don't see it.
Right.
We have to be told. And if you don't want to be told that, then you're going to sit in the comfort zone circle and life will be great.
Right. I don't know if it's judgment. I think we're just the professional that's looking at and providing the value that's going to hopefully shift and change your life. Because for me, I don't think I'm judging someone. I think I'm just the vessel.
There. That's the wrong word. But what I meant by judging is not the right word. But what you're telling the people you're coaching, if everything was hunky-dory, they wouldn't need you.
Right.
So you're raising the issues that are precluding the barrier to be broken. And guess what? As you've said it, when the barrier is broken, oh my God, the floodgates
open.
Right. So the problem is we don't know. We're afraid of what it's going to take to get to the other side. We're not afraid to get to the other side. Right. We're afraid to go through what it takes. And so I think there's a lot of coaches out there that are not great. And there's a lot of coaches out there that, that are interested in the money only, not the value.
Right.
You got to find the right one. You
Right.
got to find the right one.
I'm coaching a guy right now. We're coming to the end of our session and we were texting back and forth, last week. And he's doing pretty good, but there's this one barrier and I'm just like, God, I have to say something to him. Otherwise, this very thing is not, I want to say ruin his life, that is stopping him from living his life, from getting the career that he wants, having the relationship in his family that he wants, having the woman of his dreams. And I said to him, because it all comes back to us.
Right.
And I said, what day are you going to start honoring your own commitments?
Yeah.
And he didn't respond to the text. And when we got on the call, the first thing he goes, I didn't respond to your text because I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. And I said, all you have to do is declare it now.
Right. That's right.
And he goes, I can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Like, he said, I don't want to say it. And I said, and I went back over it again. I said, because you don't honor your commitment to yourself, you easily pick women who have more commitment to themselves and you dishonor their commitment and you fall back behind in their relationship and you become invisible.
That's right.
And I was like, this is every single relationship you've been in, you fall behind because you don't honor your commitment. It's with your career, everything. And he still would not declare a day. And I said, I am not going to, this is my commitment to you. We're going to make a date before the end of this session.
Right.
Before we stop everything, we're going to have a date. He was like, okay. He didn't make a declaration, but people struggle with looking at that part of them, and it's holding them back. And I'm sure, looking at me squirming in that chair, but when you work, you see it all the time, and it stops them.
Yeah, and I think some of it too is, I think when you really internalized your one word, it's because it was true, and I think it just took you a little time to to own your greatness. Okay,
Right,
you have to also. It's not boasting, but it's a little bit like, yeah, I'm a barrier breaker, and
right,
I'm gonna make that happen. A lot of people, okay, that don't know their value. I think a lot of people struggle because they don't know what it is. They know they're in fear of what's going to be on the other side, but they don't really know what they want on the other side.
right,
There's a double whammy there.
right.
I mean, I remember the first workbook you gave me. Your sentence was not that great.
I was like,
because right, but it's because you had in your mind what you wanted, where you wanted to land. You were not letting the process work itself through, but yet in your workbook it was so clear that your word was not juicy. Right? and the good news is I saw that because I'm trained to understand that. And then we worked a little bit together, and I remember hanging up the phone and saying, he'll get there, but you got there when you had an interaction with someone that made you realize, oh my God, I just did exactly what Rich told me my value was. Mm-hmm. And so I think so much of the fear that we have is because we're not shifting the conversation to tell me how you add value versus tell me what you do for a living. Right. So much, I see it in young adults, the kids that I'm working with, the confidence that they get when they realize what their true value is. It's a game changer. And I think a lot of people out there don't even know that they don't know their value, because I think I found an area to play in because of my branding background that helps people understand, what do you want to be known for? What value? Everybody has value, Jimmy, everybody comes into this world and does something. You don't have to be a doctor, a lawyer, a physicist. You don't have to be. You just have to know what your value is and then go build the yellow brick road to get there. And if your value is X, this process has opened my mind to stop judging people, find your value, go do what you love, and then build your life around that so that you can manage a great living. Like, don't have a value that's X and want to live a big Y life. That's not going to work. You got to balance it. And I find the fear out there that people have is because not only do they not want to be confronted with who they are, but they also don't know how to get there. So,
yes.
And I think you're a good example. Like, I've seen a transformation in you, but the transformation is because you know who you are. Right. You got it.
And your one word process, it really, with the format and the other tests that you do, like, really just gave me, I guess, something to step into, but also, like you just said, I know my value now, and I don't have to apologize anymore. And two, I would say, like, the conversation in my head shifted. I didn't have to start second guessing myself. I didn't have to worry about what people would think when I say something that may trigger them, because I knew that this is where I'm coming from. And it really allowed me to see the value that I'm giving people, the value that I have to offer, to bring to the table, and I don't have to be apologetic for it. And if that's not what you're looking for, then you can just move on, and I don't have to be chasing you down. No. I'm not that coach. If you want somebody to be, give you candy and flowers, that's not me.
I love that you said that, because for years in corporate America, I can't tell you how many instances I was in situations where one of the things about me, catalysts, I'm not always well liked. I mean, let's be fair. I'm a disruptor. I'm a
I know you are.
And one of the things that really has bothered me throughout my life, based on childhood and just situations I was in, is I don't like when people don't like me. Okay. So I can tell you instances in corporate America where I gave in and I pulled back because I couldn't really be a catalyst because I was afraid you weren't going to like me. You're going to let me go. And today, when I look back, now I feel like, you know what? Number one, I'm not sure corporate America is for me anymore because a lot of disruptive people, that's just not what corporate America is about. But number two, this is who I am. And so if you don't want to hear it in a catalyst way or a disruptive way, or you don't want me to change the game for you or change the conversation, I'm not your guy. And okay, granted, I'm older now and I can say that, but if I was able to say that in my 20s, because I knew my value, and that's part of what I also tell people that I work with. It's one thing to know your value, but it's another thing if you're not going to go find something that works with your value, you're only hurting yourself in the end.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, you can be a catalyst and still be well liked. I didn't know that. I didn't get that. Like, you can be firm in your convictions and still be well liked. And I didn't have coaches growing up like I am for other people now. And so that's why I feel like you have to have a support system around you. You got to have somebody with the pom-poms helping you. Like, you and I still talk, we still converse, we lift each other up. You need that because it's a tough world out there. You have to have a system around you that's going to push.
And that was the other thing that came to my mind. Like, when you establish this one word brand, you start to look for others that support that brand. You support each, and when you all know each other's one word, you're actually like helping them stay aligned and supporting them and like learning from each other how they're doing their brands, how they're bringing their best self to that brand. Like I really love that we stay in contact, and like me and Nando's, our relationship, because of our one word, we both hold each other accountable and make sure like, hey, what are you doing? This is not aligned with what you're doing.
Right.
Really, we both bring this value to each other that I had no idea that this was going to happen because I defined this one word.
And the other thing too is one of the most powerful pieces of knowing your value is the ability to say no.
Right? Yes.
That's something that I learned. Like, I can't say no. They're not going to ever call me again, or they're not going to invite me to the next party. And what I learned is when you say no because it doesn't align with your value, that's when it's objective. That's when you're able to say, and the power of being able to say no because it doesn't work for me is so much more powerful than not saying no, going to do it and being miserable.
Right.
And so I've learned throughout the years that it's okay to have that power to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything, but it's how you say it and it's how you align your answer with your value that makes people respect you and say, I get it. You're not the right person for this job because we're not looking for a disruptor.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Right.
So there's a lot of value in knowing who you are.
Right.
Which is weird because most people don't get it. They don't know that, but there's a lot of value there.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end.
I could do this all day.
I know, it's been so fun, and like, we're talking to you. I really enjoy. I always have a good time talking to you and like seeing your Instagram posts. Always inspires me. And I do want to read one post that you posted recently that I was just like, I just needed to hear that. And it's like, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. And I love that.
All right, so one more question for me, like the final powwow.
All right. So just a couple of questions, and to be very laser. So, what does a life of love mean to you?
What does a life of love mean to me? To me, it's all about connection. It's all about finding that connection with the people that you love and giving them more than you get in return.
And I love that you said this word, but I'm going to use it in a sentence. What does it mean for you to disrupt a pattern, or what does disruption mean to you?
I say this a lot to people. Nice people don't make history. The people that make history, or the people that are remembered, they disrupt the status quo. And what you know what it means to me? It means helping people understand that in order to get into an extraordinary circle, there's two circles of life, I believe. There's the ordinary circle and the extraordinary circle. And most people live in the ordinary circle. And when you disrupt and you become a catalyst and you come to the game, I'm just trying to get people out of that smaller ordinary circle and put them in the extraordinary circle, because I see their potential. And as coaches, consultants, speakers, I inspire people to see that in disruption.
I just thought of this one. What is one of the biggest lessons you learned when going through your phase, you and your wife, when you had cancer?
Yeah, God, one of the most important lessons that I learned. Well, there's so many, but I would say in the end, you only have the people around you that you nurtured through your life. And listen, a really quick story to make my point. So many years ago, I worked with this girl whose father passed away, and her father also worked at the company. Okay, very well-known guy, very high up in the company. He died very unexpectedly, and I went to the wake. And this was, maybe 5 years ago. And on the line, waiting to greet the parents and share our condolences, I was on the line with the entire executive team when I started out at the company. So they're much older now. And we were all on the same line. And I remember I was talking to them, and I remember it hit me. I said, we all go to the same place in the same line. There wasn't a separate line for the executives to greet the family, for the peons or the plebes to greet the family. When we got up there, it was the same coffin. There was no jewels on the outside. We all go, in my opinion. We may go when we get up there to different lanes up there, but we all exit the same way. And so for me, it really comes down to, and the cancer taught me really one thing: do not destroy or not feed the relationships that are important to you. Because it's so easy when we're young to say, I'm in the game, I'm on the hamster wheel, I'm working, I'm traveling, I'm doing. But if you get hit like my wife and I did, and we're very lucky to be alive, if you get hit with an illness that young, the people around you are only the ones you nurtured. That's it. Yeah. And that's why I had such a struggle through the years of finding my real self, because I was fortunate enough, I say this fortunately, I was fortunate enough to be sick so young but I still had that conflict of, how do I have it all, career and friends, and nurture my family? And unfortunately, because I was sick younger, I had to get that all straightened out sooner, because I saw what happens when you don't nurture relationships.
Wow.
Right? And so I remember the moment, Jimmy, where I had to make that decision. Am I going to go for that career and really go, or am I going to earn my right and earn my children's respect? You gotta earn people's like. My kids, my wife, my family, everybody loves you as family, but not everybody likes you, and you have to earn people's like. And in order to earn somebody's like, you have to be connected to them, literally make the connection with them and put the time in. And I remember that road where I made that decision that I was going to earn my children's like, and I was going to be more connected to them so that if it were to happen again and we didn't make it, they would be around me in the end and truly want to be there. Like you want to be, I get it now. Some people go to things and don't really want to be there.
Right, yeah.
Okay? You have to step back and say to yourself, what did I do? It's not my kid's fault. It's not what did I do that caused that to happen? Or
so beautiful, yes.
Or I've done it and this is what I'm reaping the reward on.
Yes.
So I will never forget my son's camp director said, you have to earn your friends' like. They're gonna love you, but you gotta earn their like. And I got it, like that really hit me. Because to like someone, you gotta really wanna be around them.
Yeah.
You gotta really enjoy them. We all love our family, but we don't always like to be around them. And I took that one to heart. So that's how I feel, right? In the end, do not ever pick something over a relationship or a human. Build that connection and nurture it, because in the end, that's all you have when you say goodbye.
Right. And what does a juicy love life look like to you?
Juicy love life. That's me. Well, I've been married. I've been married 23 years this June. I've known my wife for about 30 or 31 years. You know what? I'll be really honest. I think this one, I don't know if it'll surprise you. I think communication. I cannot tell you how many times my wife, who's amazing, just says to me all the time, just communicate. Just tell me how you, tell me what's on your mind. And I think as you get older, especially in marriage, you have to find new ways to make that connection even tighter and stronger. And then kids come in and job issues and health issues, and we're all evolving. And I would say, when I look back on my, on my marriage, which is awesome, it's communication and living practically, like it's not bachelorette, it's not bachelor in paradise, it's not, roses every day. It's the practical challenges of building that foundation and continuing to build and and when it's cracked, you got to work at it. You got to work at it. And it's a lot more than people want to take on.
Right. And
I could say, after what we've all been through, she has seen me at my worst because I was sick when we were engaged. And then I've seen her. And then focus. I would say also, you have to have the same values. I mean, we're very focused on our kids. We have the same, objectives of what we want to achieve together in our life. And I think that that's always been consistent with the two of us. And I find that as well is really one of the reasons why I'm lucky to be where I am.
Right. And last question, where can people find you online so they can reach out to you and work with you?
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so my URL is therichkeller.com. Okay, therichkeller.com. And I'm going to leave it at that, because one of the other things, I know this is going to may sound weird to you, but I think one of the other mistakes that coaches make is, I want you to come to my site and connect with me. We can find each other on social media later. But the goal is not to, if social media goes away tomorrow, I want you to be in my life, and I want you to come to my site and sign up. I have a really fun quiz that I'm trying to, hopefully we'll be launching a new quiz. I've got some content around branding, but most of all, just come meet me, and I'd love to have a consultation with anybody that wants to talk about value. Jimmy, I can't tell you we met through Nando's coaching weekend, Saturday call, but I can't tell you how excited I am that you reached out, you took advantage of my process, and to see the joy that you're experiencing is all I care about. It's all I care. You will not forget that moment when you knew who you are.
I know. Well, thank you, Rich, so much for being on the podcast, and who you are for people, and just the immense value that you bring to people, and like also just sharing yourself so openly and vulnerably. Your story is just truly amazing, and I just find value in this, and I hope a lot of people find value as well by listening to this too. And I thank you.
Same here. Thank you. Listen, huge gratitude and thank you for having me. And you're not getting rid of me.
You're not getting rid of me.
You got it.
All right.
You got it. Take care.
Take care.